Mindless circle plot lines, flashy art style, and an overt unfaithfulness to the source material. We've all heard of how Steven Hillenburg never really wanted to reboot of SpongeBob. Stupid people are funny. When everything is racial, that's the only thing I can see when watching.
Well, this isn't what I thought I needed to do, but here we are. So, I think we all know what happened earlier this week when the now infamous cartoon reviewer Ask Air had decided to upload a video that, to put it lightly, lit a fire on the entire community. Trying to bring us back to the days of Gamergate, where every review in the media is trying to shine the light on evil corporations, trying to gaslight and brainwash your children with bringing back older shows with progressive ideology. So I think it's a good idea to talk about these various talking points that have been said throughout this 7-minute dumpster fire. For the sake of my own sanity and yours, I'm just going to take these talking points that are relevant throughout it and share my thoughts about these opinions. Let's get this over with.
These Disney reboots do more than just rip off the original for monetary gain. No. They actively disrespect the source material while they do it.
So one of the major talking points within this video is the rage about none of the modern reboots sticking to what made the predecessors iconic in the first place. Shows like Teen Titans Go! Or Powerpuff Girls 2016! Or Ben 10 2016! Yeah, these shows came out around a decade ago. You see what I mean when I say he's trying to bring us back? The blunt response to this complaint is, why should they? Now, I'm not saying that these shows shouldn't look at the originals and try to take what worked well with them and adapt it to modern times. However, we also have to understand that the creators of these shows do not own the rights to the IP if it is accepted by these major companies. There are many instances where the original creators of a show decide to mutually part ways due to various issues. The Boondocks is a good example of this, as creator Aaron McGruder decided to part ways due to not having an agreeable production schedule. So companies can still do whatever they want with a show if the creator doesn't stick around. And yes, even if the creator is no longer with us. I hate the fact that it's been over 5 years since Steven Hillenburg passed away, and people are still using his name to shame Nickelodeon and those who work on SpongeBob for making spin-offs, using a vague claim for one article in 2009 to prove that he never wanted them, even though it has been debunked multiple times by various articles, tweets from people who worked with Steven Hillenburg, and fellow colleagues on YouTube. I'm just going to call it as it is. Those who will make this claim are only using his name as a cheap talking point. It is mad disrespectful to not only those that have worked with him for a long time, but also disrespectful to the man himself. Okay, back to the reboots. This is also a very nitpicky take because there are various shows that do stay true to the original while adapting it to modern times. Air claimed that this has been a major issue since 2010. So I'll list a few reboots that were critically acclaimed. Thundercats 2011, TMNT 2012, Mickey Mouse 2013, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, DuckTales 2017. I could keep going. At the end of the day, companies and showrunners that decide to take on the task of rebooting a show still has to pander to the younger demographic, which means that it's never going to be the exact same, and I don't really want it to. As a theater kid, I was always intrigued in how shows are adapted from their predecessors and what footprint they put on the world. Will it always be innovative and interesting if they go a different direction? No, but I can still appreciate them for doing so. Unlike Air, who decided that this show was a prime example of what your average reboot is. Which isn't a
It was originally the Fairly OddParents trash reboot number 1 that inspired me to make this video, but now they went and made another one. And when it's animated, that's where I draw the line.
So the new Wish is another extension of the Fairly OddParents franchise. In Air's eyes, it checks all of his boxes. Bad plot lines, terrible flashy art style, and again, being unfaithful to the OG. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't believe he legitimately watched the show to say that the plotlines were bad. Now, unlike him, I'm not going to lie to you and say that I have seen it personally. However, I have seen quite a number of clips throughout my own Twitter timeline, And I personally do not see any issues with what stories they decided to tell. There has not been a single person who said anything negative about the show until Ask Air, and we all know how that went. But there is one critique that I am very flabbergasted with that has to deal with the main character, but we'll get to that later. Now, I'm not sure what his major gripe with the art style is. While yes, there is a clear shift with utilizing more CG than your traditional 2D animation the original show is known for. However, they still stick pretty close to the look and feel of the show. Not to mention we still see the original style with the title cards and when we see photos. Air complains about the show being too colorful and flashy, but the original has that same flair. As a matter of fact, there are many shows that are brightly colored in the mid-2000s, so I don't think I can give you that either. Sure, you have the right to not like the look, but this all boils down to ruining Butch Hartman's original image for the show. Even though the series went down the toilet in the later years, but I digress. That's really hard to believe since a majority of the fan base genuinely enjoyed it. Also, it falls flat very quickly since Butch Hartman promoted the show and raved about what you disliked as well. So every point you made in this video, you are in the minority, and very painfully so. However, there is one major critique that requires addressing, and it's the most egregious in my eyes, as well as many others.
The black female Timmy Turner is clearly just a cheap attempt to reboot this property without any other significant pitches for change. I mean, for the diversity folks, there must be a point where this hurts the cause more than it helps it.
Man, where to begin with this? The fact that your analysis of Hazel being a black female Timmy Turner really says a lot about how you perceive media, and it isn't good things. For starters, from some of the snippets I got from the show, it's a continuation, not a reboot, which means that Hazel is her own character. Not to mention they are so far apart from each other when it comes to personality. There's a reason there's a meme between the two showing their differences because they are the exact opposite of each other. So this lack of awareness to the type of character Hazel is just gives the assumption that you just hate that a black character is taking on the protagonist's role. And that heightens for me because of your response to a user on Twitter asking about how they are the same. The fact that you summon up to the cast being the same except for her, and it serves more or less the same purpose, just shows that you did not bother to even look at the synopsis and just assume that they are erasing Timmy and plopping a black girl there. It sounds similar to a theory about replacing certain people, but I might be overthinking it. Wait, no, he's actually going this route? Oh my fucking God, Jesus Christ! Look, I really think we need to talk about this whole concept of replacing a character with someone else. Because this complaint has to be one of the dumbest and dangerous when it comes to this medium. And someone who is a part of this community spouting this has to be addressed promptly. The idea that having a minority taking on a role that was originally portrayed as white means that corporations are taking away what seems to be white representation is problematic, and there's an issue with that statement. There are a plethora of characters that are white, and none of the original characters are going to be buried into the vault. They're just being adapted so that we can see a character in a different perspective. There are plenty of adaptations of April O'Neil, from her being a news reporter to being a 12-year-old girl. But as soon as we make her a black teenager that goes from job to job, people want to go ape. And I know I'm going to get the question, why do we have to change the race of a character from a white girl to a girl of color and not the reverse? Well, here's the thing. If we decide to change Pocahontas from being an indigenous woman to a white woman, that would be a huge disservice to what the movie is about. And you are actively erasing the voice of indigenous people and masking the bare minimum of history. The entire premise changes drastically, and the story is no longer there. Authenticity can play a very important role to the character, as well as having opportunities to share a culture. There are a lot of characters that you have mentioned that you do not see their race. Have moments where we talk about their race and how it affected their everyday lives. Also, sliding in Uncle Ruckus as one of your favorite characters really says a lot about where your morals lie. Now let's dive into the voice actor's take, that it shouldn't matter who voices the character since it is animated and no one is seeing their face. That's a really crappy statement. Takes like that are why voice actors are not getting the respect they deserve. Not to mention, it's a slap in the face to animation because the actor plays a large importance in what makes that character unique and brings the stories of animation to life. As I said, there are characters where their race plays a large role in who they are, and the people that can bring out the most of that experience are actors of that same ethnicity. The voice itself only plays a very small part of the performance. It's the acting that helps bring it out, and that process is so much deeper than trying to get the voice right. It's taking a deep dive into who the character is and what drives them into doing what they do when we see them on screen. Also, saying that Halle Bailey and Rachel Zegler can't sing should be a crime because, like,
Ready to stand.
are you tone deaf? Perhaps a lacking of understanding of various musical genres. I don't know, that take was wild to say. At the end of the day, these are some very dangerous talking points that lead you down a road where you become reactionary and vulnerable to ideologies that can hurt a lot of people. There are many factors that can lead to this, and this video that Air has decided to make could make him dive headfirst into that pipeline. So, what can we learn from this? The main thing is doing proper research into the topic so that you are more adequate to discussing it in good faith. Also, really having a discussion with the peers in your field if making a video with this kind of framing is good for your channel in the long run. Finally, be open to criticism of your work, especially to those that are trying to help you see the error of your ways. Doubling down when a majority of people disagree with you will do nothing but isolate you and fill you with bitterness and hatred. There's a reason why characters like these are not seen in the best light story-wise. Do not be like them.